Hiding underneath this tidy black business suit is a legitimate super stock race car. We'll show it to you. Hopefully you can watch this week's episode of Muscle Car of the Week without getting the little old lady from Pasadena stuck in your head, because she used to campaign a super stock Dodge, and that's what we've got. 1963 Plymouth Sport Fury with the super stock 426 Max Wedge. This is just an awesome, awesome car because it is so basic and so brutal at the same time. It's got one purpose, and that's just to go fast. This was a new design for Plymouth for 1963. As we see the 60s unfold, cars got a little more conservative, gone were the big wings and a lot of the swept trim. This car is, essentially slab-sided, the deck lid's flat, the hood's pretty flat, very basic. It's very clean looking. It's got a nice long clean spear on the side, but the styling elements are very basic, and that's what Plymouth was going after. They actually talk about it in some of their advertisements, how they wanted a crisp, clean image, and that's what this car did. The coolest thing about this car is the driveline and the lack of other frills. So when you look inside this car, it is as basic as they come. This thing originally was a 3-speed manual transmission. It got upgraded to a 4-speed for better racing performance. But everything that you see is exactly as it was delivered to Fenner Tubbs Plymouth in Lubbock, Texas back in 1963. And this car was used by the Fenner Tubbs dealership as a drag race car. It doesn't have very many miles on it, and it's been well preserved. It never advanced to have a roll cage or other really, really racy stuff. It's essentially a fully stock appearing drag race car, just as it was delivered from the factory. The heart of this super stock racer is the super stock 426 Max Wedge V8 engine. You look at this thing, you can tell something's up right away. You've got 2 air cleaners, and they're staggered across the top of the engine because there's a cross ram style intake manifold. It has long branch exhaust manifolds that look like headers flipped upside down. What you can't see is that these came in either 11-to-1 compression or 13.5-to-1 compression versions, because Dodge knew, man, this car was to be raced. That's why you bought it. In fact, they gave you a brochure that had not only the specs of the engine, but all the part numbers for the pieces inside, in case you had the misfortune of scattering one at the track. You could order up whatever you wanted to put your super stock race car back together right out of the catalog. When you open the hood on this 63 Sport Fury, you see these 2 really large air filter units kind of staggered, sitting on this big bright orange intake manifold, and the valve covers are tucked in there and they say super stock on them. And the cool thing is, they called this the short ram intake, and even though it is a very, very big piece, the long ram intake you might have seen on the 413s that had the carburetors staggered, about 2 feet apart from each other. These were tucked in a little bit closer. It reduced some weight. It also helped the air intake velocity going into the Max Wedge cylinder heads. You had 2 Carter 4-barrel carburetors sitting on top of this intake. You had a Max Wedge cylinder head that had oversized valves, oversized ports, and a wedge head design, which was a higher compression design. Forged aluminum pistons. This thing was over 11-to-1 compression. It had a full solid lifter camshaft, high lift cam, a balanced crankshaft. It had Magnaflux connecting rods. It had a lot of go-fast stuff under the hood. The main journals were hardened steel, so tri-metallic bearings, things that were designed to take abuse, because this car made 415 horsepower, 465 foot-pounds of torque, spun to high RPM. And going through that 3-speed manual transmission and a 391 rear gear, this lightweight car was capable of low 12 second quarter miles. In fact, a well-known drag racer named Tom Grove campaigned an earlier 62 version, set a bunch of records, and when he got his 1963 car, the 3rd time out, he ran 1199. And believe it, this thing's got 7.5-inch wheels with 14-inch tires, just basic stuff, but man, is it fast. The exhaust manifolds are pretty unique on this car. They go up kind of over the valve covers and then back down. They're a free-flowing design which go into a 3-inch exhaust pipe, which eventually necks down to 2 inches out to the back after the mufflers. So a free-flowing exhaust system to keep this thing breathing at high RPM. Everything about this car is designed just to go fast. With all the power and all of the fury of this car, you know, pun intended, I think one of the funniest things is to see the 4-wheel drum brakes with the little single pot master cylinder. You know, this car was designed to go 1/4 mile at a time in a straight line, and these things were kind of notorious for having brakes that were not very predictable on the street, especially once you heated them up. So many people think the '64 Pontiac GTO was the very first muscle car, but we think this '63 Plymouth Fury definitely qualifies. The debate continues. You'll see more muscle cars like this from the Brothers Collection each week on Muscle Car of the Week. We've got more pictures of this one on our website at musclecaroftheweek.com. Go to the Facebook page and share this car with your friends and look at some of the others. It's a great place to leave some feedback. And of course, we've got our YouTube channel where you can subscribe and never miss an episode of Muscle Car of the Week.